Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the AM show, hosted live on AlphaMint Monday to Friday at 9-ish AM. Running a little bit behind today. I am R2DGen, and I am joined with me by the man who is finally celebrating the drop of the CloneX, Mr. Free Market Capitalist. Don't know if celebrating is the word that I would use to describe it, but it does feel
I'm
like
less
the
I'm
worst
less
has
grumpy.
passed. Less grumpy,
Yeah.
a less grumpy free market capitalist. So yeah, we got a little bit to talk about. Ethereum is ripping right now, and as always, that seems to affect the NFTs. But how was your briefly? How was your day yesterday? Apart from the
Uh,
CloneX stuff, which we'll talk about.
yeah, no, my day was pretty great. There was a very high profile drop, which I was excited to see in the motherfuckers, or MFers, I should say, which was a drop by Satoshi NFT. Scott and I went over it in the pre-show a bit, but I just believe these are going to be elite collector's items over time, and they're really great hodls if you got into it. But man, it was an intense gas war for a 10,000 PFP project that had no whitelist. So, that's pretty damn impressive. He knew what he was doing, Sartoshi.
Yeah, I saw a side project that he was related to have a little bit of a pump too, which we'll talk about as well.
Hmm.
But yeah, glad you had a good day. All right, let's get into the cryptocurrency markets right now. Looking at Bitcoin, just chilling around, down 1% on the week and the last 24 hours, hanging around $57,000 on a little bit of FUD as it ran up over 58,000. Not a big deal though. Ethereum has been the talk of the town. It's crossed the 4,700 threshold, sitting at 4,700 and $1 as of right now, and that's a great sign for Ethereum. But as the old adage goes, not always great for NFTs.
Yeah, I talk about how long term this isn't a real correlation, but there's always going to be a short term rotational effect when spot starts to rally as people rotate both into ETH and altcoins, which have seen quite the nice bounce after a consolidation period, which it's not good news for gas. There's two effects here, right? There's better places to make money, and gas becomes really high. So you have your lower end projects really suffer because nobody wants to pay double, and then your blue chips cool off as the wealthy rotate into a better EV.
Yeah. It'll be interesting to watch as Ethereum continues its run. Obviously, the last bull market that we had, it was Bitcoin that took off first. Ethereum followed kind of, within a 15-day span behind it, and then the altcoins ripped. But it appears that there's a different market dynamic, especially for anybody involved in crypto back in 2017. Bitcoin was the kind of the pass through for the entire market. Like everything kind of came and went through Bitcoin, and I think it saw a lot of those market swells as a result of it. And now Ethereum being kind of the center of the universe in terms of the DeFi and the altcoin world, it seems to maybe be getting some of the play off that. Any thoughts in that regard?
Oh, that ratio is getting juicy, man. I think everybody thought this would kind of be the year of Ethereum, and people have talked about the flippening for a while. I think that's a ways out, and I'm not concerned with the flippening, but I expect that ratio to be hitting the old high as I know it already has, and I think it's going to go a little higher. Ethereum is it right now. Bitcoin will be its store of value. I'm sure it will go higher over time, but Web3 is the future. And it's where people are building right now. And I mean, even the alt L1s are obviously going to be seeing more action right now than Bitcoin, which as a store of value isn't where people are putting their money right now.
Right. Yeah. I did see some people on Twitter calling for around zero point zero 0.08, zero point zero 0.09 on the ratio between ETH and Bitcoin to maybe
Mm-hmm.
be a market top signal as well. I don't really understand
21
the.
two, baby.
Yeah, that's the total flipping, right, on the market cap.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes, I think so. Something like
Yeah,
that.
I don't know.
I know everyone.
it's still got some work to do to get to that point. Looking at
Right.
some of the other altcoins, Gala still having a good week. Decentraland and Sandbox cooling down a little bit, down 6% and 7% respectively over the last day as the main
But
coins
holy
continue
shit,
to rip.
the
But
land in the land in those metaverses is just flying. Like there are, if VCs were making their footprint in generative art last cycle, they are buying metaverse land and properties and assets today. If there's ever a bull case for CloneX, it's that the metaverse really seems to be coming into its own right now.
yeah, for sure. And the token price doesn't always reflect the actual story of what's going on
No.
within the metaverse. And yeah, there are some very, very large purchases being made. A little bit of
Yeah.
news going on. Nothing crazy in the news cycle for the last day. But Fidelity launches a spot Bitcoin ETF up here in Canada. This is not our first ETF exposure to Bitcoin or Ethereum, but it would be the largest asset manager to launch on the a Bitcoin ETF, and that will be going live on the TSX. Don't know if I'll be buying any of that. I have enough crypto exposure in my life, which is pretty much 100%. But yeah, it's always good to see these big, large scale asset managers get into actual like spot ETFs.
Yeah, it's going to be the only way for the majority of people who only invest through 401ks or pension plans to have access to crypto at least early on. So these aren't for the people listening to this show right now, but these are necessary for mainstream adoption.
Yeah, mainstream adoption is the key there. I would look for this to create a lot of pressure on the SEC to start approving some of these for the American markets as well as the people are hungry for it, and eventually, as that hunger kind of rises, they will have to bend. This is a political game, and these are very very wealthy people that want to get involved in it without direct like actual custodial exposure. And I think that this could mean that it's just around the bend.
Yeah, and I mean, everyone loves to put government headlines in their FUD channels as reasons to be wary of crypto and stuff like that. That's how the government negotiates, right? This is how they put fear into the lobbyists and companies of crypto so that they have a bargaining chip in the fight as well. They're not anti-crypto, they're anti getting less than they can if they play hardball. So that's all governments are doing. It's usually empty threats, and it's really just a negotiating tactic because it's them and lobbyists in a closed room making the law.
Right, and I believe it was Elon that tweeted out at one point, in hindsight, it was inevitable. And I think that in hindsight, this will all look inevitable as well.
100.
100. All right, let's move into NFTs, and we will jump in quickly to WGMI. 7-day change is looking a little bleak for most projects. 1 hour timepieces. That was the project that I mentioned about Satoshi having a little bit of a run, probably just on the back of Satoshi's drop with the MFers. This was something that launched about 5 months ago, and it was a collab between Satoshi and Mills. It's just like a little AC bonsai tree kind of thing. Have done zero research into that, but just kind of popped up on my radar, and that was the 30-second look that I had. Punk's Comics still doing well on the week. Head DAO having a little bit of run on the back of the approval of the game that they're going to be building. Don't know if that's too little too late. I know some alpha minters jumped in. I know some alpha minters are looking at this as exit liquidity. I am holding strong on this personally, but I have a good cost basis and feel comfortable about that. So at your own risk. Neo Tokyo Identity is doing well. Everything else is pretty much under 15% on the week. Again, floors don't always tell the entire story. One that's getting beat up right now, though, is the beloved Kaiju Kingz. The actual floor, which is not the Genesis models, are down about 32%, down to just under 0.7 ETH. And I think we were just talking about this. It's about 1.9 for the Genesis now, and some WETH offers getting exposed or accepted for, you said 1.5, I believe.
Yeah, Kaiju's, what a fall from grace. They were up to a 7E floor. And, to if we're looking at WGMI, I noticed yesterday in the morning we had seen ETH start to rally, and nothing was really affected yet. Swampverse was still above zero point 0.3. New drops were still holding up pretty well. And then I think the reality that SHIB was rallying 30% and ETH looks primed for new all-time highs started to get in the minds of traders, and we saw undercutting coming to all the floors. But Kaiju is going through one of those periods. It very much reminds me of Cryptodes or other high-profile drops, but their roadmap has come out. There's nothing 100% unique or not known about it, and we know that known unknowns don't move markets, right? Like if something is seen coming a mile away, it's not going to move any markets. And you have kaiju supply going up every day. In fact, recently, a lot of people who only owned two kaijus just made enough R waste to start making babies. So if you don't know, you need two kaijus and a certain amount of their utility token to make babies. So we're seeing supply coming on right when the team is really in put head down and work mode. I have a lot of optimism for this project. I really like the team. The art is fabulous, and I'm not worried about them. But man, they have taken quite the haircut since they were the talk of the town.
Yeah, and I mean, it's important to note when you're looking at the collection, there are two separate kind of blocks of kaiju in there, the Genesis and the babies, as you mentioned. So the floor price on OpenSea and WGMI is a little bit deceptive. So it is still kind of around the two ETH mark. But yeah, that is a fall from grace. And it's one of those things that, as the hype cycles kind of move around and liquidity comes and goes out of these projects, I think Kaiju will absolutely have their moment again in the future. And I think, as you see, sometimes it'll be higher highs and higher lows, and these things will kind of just slowly move up as their the legacy kind of evolves in the NFT space.
They were the absolutely perfect project for the previous meta, right? Like they defined the end of the last cycle where it was the perfect culmination of all the trends we had been seeing into one project, and they were lauded as such, and they deserved it. Now the meta has completely changed, and if you saw in their latest roadmap, they're actually talking about games now, rampage like games and all this type of stuff. So they understand they kind of have to start moving towards this new meta. And I do believe it was in the pipeline before. They're not just they were talking about it before games became really hot. The head dev there, Dots, bought Orcs early on. He bought Legend Maps. I mean, these guys are gaming oriented, but you're going to go through quiet periods. And in this market, that's really going to take your floor down. I mean, for what it is, that is not a thick floor back up to 4E. And in my opinion, that's kind of where that's really what they're worth and where they'd settle. I mean, if I had an extra 20E lying around, which I don't, I'd sweep that floor. I'm very bullish on the team. I think once a project gets out there with very good art, a very good roadmap, you really just want to look at the team. Are they competent? Are they going to evolve? Do they have too big an ego to maybe change something if it's not working? And no, I have full confidence in this team. So nothing's changed for me with Kaijus. Shout out to all my kings.
Yeah, you know what? There's two things that I love about Kaijus. One is that as we've said a million times before, the art is great. But two is this: you always know when the Kaijus are in the house, right? Like, we had a pretty big swath of kaiju people jump into AlphaMint at one point, and they rock the profile pictures. They look great, and it's just like there's a certain aura around the fact that the kaijus have arrived. And
Yeah.
I think in terms of like community and cultural relevance, that's very important. It's the same as the apes, the same as the punks, and obviously we can't put them into that echelon,
No.
at least not yet. But it's
Right.
always a good feeling for that project to have that kind of just that kind of perception.
Yeah, absolutely.
Cool. So yeah, Kaiju Kingz taking a little bit of a beating. Other than that, any other projects that you see are down? Wolf Game is kind of struggling a little bit. Game.
most floors that I follow are down 20 to 30% across the board. CloneX is up. It's seen more volume than most, but they're pre-reveal still, and we know how messy those launch dynamics were. So,
well, let's actually just get into CloneX then. So let's go through the timeline. The Dutch auction started on Monday at 5 p.m. It did not go according to plan. There's varying theories as to what actually happened there, but as the team would say, their site was under a DDoS attack. The minting started out at 3 ETH and actually had quite a bit of steam right off the hop. I believe 2,000 out of the 8,000 public sale availability mints were taken around 3 ETH. And then things kind of just stalled out, and it dropped from 2.8 to 2.7 to 2.6, and then that's when kind of the questionable actions started. At 2.6, I believe there was only like 2, 3, 4, somewhere in the single digit ranges of sales, and they shut down the Dutch auction. So that was strange. We went into depth about that on yesterday's show, but they basically at that point said, sorry guys, we're going to bed. We need some sleep. We'll figure this out tomorrow. Shocking in the face of, a $50 million, $100 million sale. And then, bring us up to date on yesterday's happenings.
Yeah, so at first they had told us they were going to restart the auction at 10 a.m. Maybe 30 minutes before 10 a.m. Pacific time, they announced a Spaces on Twitter to tell us what the policy was going to be going forward. And they took a terrible situation and made it 10 times worse. It was remarkable how poor the launch went and then how poor their response was to it. Really mind-boggling. First, they changed it from a Dutch auction to a fixed price of 2E. So now all 1,000 people, or however many it was, minted at 3E are already fucked for 1 ETH now, because you've now set a floor price of 2E. There's no longer an auction. There's no longer price discovery. You've set that price. To compensate for that, they took 1,000 clones from the public sale and are going to raffle them off, not just to the people who bought at 3E, but to anybody who bought in the pre-sale or in the public sale before yesterday. This is absolutely absurd. This does not make up for anybody losing their 1E, and the floor is up a bit, but this is a company that took in $100 million yesterday, right? They could have easily paid back everybody the 1 ETH difference who paid 3E. It is only 1,000 clones, all right? Or 1,200 or something like that. And then you could do a raffle if you want to as a thank you to the community for a very terrible launch and then communication subsequently. But to include people who were in the pre-sale who paid 0.05 for a CloneX and is now sitting at a 25x already. You're going to put them in the raffle and take away value from the people you just screwed with a poorly planned launch. I mean, people were irate and justifiably so.
Yeah, there was a lot to unpack there. A bunch of us were listening to the Twitter Spaces in the the members area of the voice chat and chatting along with it too. And Illidan, who had actually minted at the 3 ETH mark, and you who had been holding this for God knows how long. Both were pretty hypercritical of this announcement, and it really became a polarizing topic on their Discord, which is another topic that we'll get into later when we're talking about CloneX. But it was weird. They did some justifiable. They made some justifications as to why they were just going to do it for anybody that had a pre-sale up to that point. And they were saying, to get access to the pre-sale, there were people that paid 5 ETH for the items that were involved in that. All weird stuff. But yeah, there were people that were calling for, oh, well, we did pre-sale. Like, we've been supporters for a long time. We deserve these. And everyone else was like, yeah, but you paid 0.05 for it. Like, I participated in a Dutch auction, and kind of got, the shit end of the stick on that. So it was very polarizing. There were a lot of different stances on it. It's hard to kind of, put a stamp of approval on who was right or wrong in that scenario. Everybody's obviously got heated opinions, especially when, you're talking about $10,000-$15,000 worth of purchases or sales that are on the line. But I think the important thing was, and this was the discussion that was going on, was just that, they hyped up this drop for months and months and months. We knew that this was all about to happen. And their website just wasn't ready. I've heard reports that there was no DDoS attack and that it wasn't actually under that. It was just the stress of people trying to actually mint and they weren't able to. And I think a lot of the frustration is for the people that minted at 3E. They're saying, well, if your website had just been up to par, it probably would have just minted out. But so many people couldn't actually even get on it. I still can't get on the website. I don't know what that means, but like,
this is pure overthinking on their part. Like, I have said this so many times, like, do not try to reinvent the wheel on your mint process. Like, there are certain things that are best practice for a reason. And this website so reeks of like 4 years ago when they were all going with this very, like, I don't know, animated, dynamic, heavy load website that takes 15 minutes just to load the animations that mean nothing to you. You don't fucking care about these things. And it puts such a load on their website, which they're not depending on NFT people who were all already in the pre-sale. Any of these large whales you would expect to ape a drop like this already had 100 of these things from the pre-sale. They're depending on celebrities who are going to go to the front end and buy these things. And if you had seen that momentum early on before the website crashed, they very likely could have sold out at 3E or a little underneath. And it completely killed their momentum. And then they act like the Gestapo in their Discord for genuine concern. Now, I understand during the heat of the drop, there were hundreds, if not thousands, of people in there just to complain about something they were never going to have access to in the first place. Maybe some robots typing messages and fudding. I understand that, but there were people like me and Dark Illidan, genuine members of their community who wanted answers and who wanted to at least see some sort of, like not an apology, but certainly some concern from the staff and mods that they wanted to make this right, because quite frankly, they fucked their community over, especially the people like me who had been lauding this company and putting our reputation on the line, saying, you don't understand. These people are royalty in NFTs, blah, 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 blah. Well, you make all of us look like assholes, right? And that's fine. We all make bad calls now and again, but you compound it with these shitty fucking moves afterwards in a response to it when you should have, at that point, now you've made your money, just fucking focus on the community. Make everybody whole and do your stupid raffle and try to at least save some face here. I mean, I'm bullish on the technicals of this project, but this team has disappointed me in a huge way.
Yeah, as somebody who's had their come up in customer service and hospitality, sometimes a little bit of an acknowledgement goes a long way too, and the team was just not willing to give an inch in that regard. Now, I understand that they have to be careful about what they're saying and what they're committing to and whatnot, but they were actively deleting legitimate questions and concerns about this. They put on like a 5-minute slow mode, and I mean, they were more than happy to let the supporters kind of take control of the narrative in their Discord. But yeah, it was really kind of disappointing to see. And then they were actively kind of just celebrating, fuck the fudders, blah, blah, blah. We're CloneX, we're going to succeed.
Are you
And
out of your fucking minds after that launch to go and spike the football on Twitter? Are you
well,
fucking out of your mind?
here's
It's
yeah, exactly. That's a great point. And here's what I'm seeing from the outside looking in. People that are liquid enough to be able to put 3 ETH on the line, 6 ETH on the line, 9 ETH on the line. We're talking a somewhat upper tier of your community and the NFT community, right? Like, especially if this isn't a large portion of your liquidity pool, to go in there and just act like somebody didn't spend 15, 30, $45,000 on a bunch of NFTs that go directly to you. This isn't secondary sales. They go directly to you. It needs to be treated with respect, because in some regards, people are spending as much as they would on a car for these JPEGs. And, you can't rub that in people's faces. And I'm curious to see how many people they've turned off of this just based on their behavior after the fact. You can't be dismissive on it. If this is a point zero 0.02 stealth drop that you've put 72 hours into, and like you don't give a fuck, it's just this quick cash grab and you're in and out and whatever. Not that I'm advocating that anyone do that. Like, I don't expect any fucking customer service or compassion from those people. But yeah, to launch at 3 ETH and then, like you said, spike the football on a pretty disastrous drop in regards to their project. Tough luck.
These are all first world problems. No one should be crying for anyone involved
So
here.
true. Yeah,
But
yeah.
at the same time, like, we're looking at this through a lens. We analyze markets and we're analyzing these companies so you guys can make good investment decisions. And this was disappointing on every level.
Yeah, there was a lot going on there, and it was arrogance to say the least.
So, it mints out in about 20 minutes. At 2E, mind you, the website still had, it seemed to be going pretty quick early on, and then the website also failed under load. And I think you needed to like clear your cache to get the website to work again.
That's probably
But
what
I
they
know
need
a
to do.
lot, yeah, a lot of people were complaining in the general about halfway through that mint that the website started failing again or whatever. But they sold out in 20 minutes. Floor was like 2.1, I think, at the low on OpenSea, and it's sitting at about 2.75 right now. They have been seeing demand in the secondary. Uh, the sandbox, which is the premier land grab right now in the entire metaverse, actually swept that floor from about 2.4 up to 2.75. These guys tend to buy things like punks and apes and assets that they consider important to their future world that they're building. So it was heartening to see them go ape into CloneX, but I still think this company has a lot to respond to. I hope they are listening to the criticisms and can find a bit of humility to set right what they screwed up here.
Right. So let's go even further. Initially, this was supposed to be an instant reveal. Once the whole project was sold out. Initially on the Dutch auction, but now on the set price. And there was some questions regarding the process of that. These are 3D high quality 3D images that do take render time. We're talking about 20,000 of them. And there were, I think, some people that were skeptical about how they were going to instantly reveal these, because you can't just render those immediately and then get them all linked up. But that was originally the plan, and so now they've, I guess, in a way that benefits them, and I'm air quoting here, listened to the community and decided not to do an instant reveal after the fact, so that these things could sit on secondary and trade away at their 10% royalty that is still up. And
Yeah,
as we
they
saw,
continue to mismanage this.
yeah, as we saw with Mecca, which delayed their reveal and sat, I think, unrevealed for the better part of 7 days. And, I think they got up to tens of thousands of ETH in volume on the secondary market. it does benefit the team for these things to trade unrevealed, because typically we see a drop in volume after the first day of reveal, and the floors typically drop as well. So now these things are hovering around 3 ETH and getting traded back and forth with a 10% cut going to the team every fucking time one of these moves.
They've traded 5,000 ETH in volume last time I checked. It's probably a little more at this point.
Yeah.
So that's 500 extra ETH. They've almost made as much in royalties that they need to pay back the people that they fucked.
Well, I was just going to say that. Wouldn't that be nice?
Come on.
But yeah, 5,000 ETH in volume, 500 ETH going to their team after, the, what?
If they don't do a refund, this is just absolute boneheaded bullshit.
They're not going to. Just seeing Illidan saying, don't forget on the spaces, they categorically said, we strongly recommend not buying on secondary. Yeah, another great point. Kaiju, which we just talked about, did a move where they actually locked the contract until reveal, which prevented people from trading them at all. At the time, that seemed like a controversial decision. However, it paid off in spades for that project.
Arguably one of the most successful launches in NFT history, if not the most successful launch, when you see how they set it up, their price afterwards, the hype that built, and almost the instant Kong-like status Kaijus were given on whitelists and discords and all that type of stuff. Just an absolute contrast to who apparently was the king in NFTs, according to Uncle Free.
Uncle Free, yeah. Well, and that's the thing, they go out and say, don't trade these on secondary, don't buy them, don't sell them, blah, 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 blah. But we're going to put a 10% VIG on that to deter people from trading. Just freeze the contract. Put a 50% VIG on there. Like, people aren't going to be trading if they know they're going to have to give up half their money. Whatever. Like, I'm not advocating that they do that either. Just freeze the contract. But that 10% was like, it's just so it's kind of predatory.
They didn't do some things wrong, they did everything
right. And I mean, for anybody that's newer to this show, this is coming from we're talking like a top advocate of Artifact and CloneX since I've known him and since we've been doing this show. This isn't just a way for us to say some hot takes and get some clicks on a YouTube video or anything like that. Like, this was a project that you were diamond handing your fuos. You were looking forward to this, and you were celebrating them publicly. And as you said, for anybody doing that, they might be feeling a little bit of a reputation hit from their friends. We still love you, though. No hard feelings there, except for maybe Illidan, who's probably going to try and take you out back. But whatever.
Yeah, no, I mean, they make a lot of, you make me feel like the asshole, and it's their fault. It's, look, it's all on me. I take full responsibility.
No.
The game we play, but at the same time, it's disheartening to see such a dense, opaque response from this team after taking in just more money than any NFT project has ever even come close to on their launch.
Yeah, so tough luck. I think at the end of the day they're going to be fine, but it'll be interesting to see what their reputation kind of sits at after all of this washes out. And
just buy your goddamn reputation back at this point. It's all people care about in this game. Just buy it back, idiot.
So the final part to this is the reveal. Which, do we have a timeline for it now?
All we were told was later this week. There is a bridge. There is a bridge that has to occur. As we know, these are on 1155s, which is why they're all stacked and why gas was so gas. I mean, that was all they were concerned about. That gas be cheap for minting. So congrats, Illidan. You only paid $40 per fucking clone to mint it. But yeah, so we're gonna. I assume tomorrow. I assume Friday. It's when people like to do these things. So I assume they're gonna reveal Friday, but we don't know. They just said later this week. There's some sort of bridge to the 721 that has to occur, which I'm sure will go very smoothly given their history. So we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, it's I mean, if nothing else, it's great for the conversation. But yeah, this is a tough look, and I mean, it might not be a. We might be understating the liquidity suck that this continues to be too, right? Obviously, Ethereum's ripping, but this is not a small amount of ETH that's getting kind of tied up in this ecosystem as well.
5,000 in secondaries already. This thing hasn't revealed yet. And if you don't think all the whales who minted pre-sale are going to start, trading for rares the moment this thing goes live, you're crazy. There's, all my rants aside, this thing's going to be very successful just because of the quality of the work, the goal behind the project, and the fact that whales are going to go nutso for those rares when they reveal, including mainstream celebrities who I bet are going to start rocking them in their PFPs, even if Artifact is paying them to do it. I think we're going to be seeing that a lot over the next month.
The last thing that I want to say about CloneX before we move on is once it does reveal, and we had this discussion yesterday, it is going to be very fascinating to see what the price action is and how the market reacts to the floors. A big criticism that everybody had of Mecha was that they all looked the same, rare or not. But when you're looking at that sales page on OpenSea, and if you're a true degen like me, where you have like the squares set down as low as possible, and then you've zoomed out some so you could see as many as you possibly can on the screen, do they look the same next to each other? Because even people that own floors want to be rocking these things as their PFP. A lot of them have probably traded some of their higher value NFTs to get this and have them as their PFP to be part of the CloneX gang. And if all of those floor level NFTs are somewhat indistinguishable from each other, which can be a bit of an issue with 3D drops, we might see some struggles there as well.
Yeah, we've seen FUD ships turn into FOMO trains really fast, and I do think a couple high-profile celebrities rocking these things could get these moving pretty quickly. So, all this launch be damned. I think I just really, really, really hope they decide to take a simple refund, and an apology. I think would go most of the way to setting this right and maybe announcing some cool things we didn't know about and getting Kanye to rock a Tekashi as his PFP. And yeah, to your point, like Swampverse was a great example where once the floors were revealed, people were like, fuck, most of these are pretty damn nice. Like even the floors look good and they look kind of good rocking them in your PFP. And I'm hoping CloneX can pull that off too. We've seen 10 previews. We've seen a lot of memes. There's that fake one, the bald one with no tooth that everyone thought was real that's been going around. But that was actually a meme made by a member of CloneX, you guys. That it was a meme they made for their own internal fun. And it became, look at what these guys are putting out. So understand, most of the shit you're reading out there is misinformation by salty people who could have never afforded the drop in the first place. But that doesn't excuse it. I mean, they need to make this right. We should move on.
Yeah, you want to move on? Let's talk about in the wake of CloneX, maybe the drop of the day, dropping at 4:20 Eastern yesterday was the MFers. We alluded to this earlier in the show, and it was a Satoshi project. Satoshi being of fame on Twitter, but yeah, did you end up partaking in this? The gas war was absolutely insane. Finally seeing some 4-digit gwei in the process.
Yeah, at 4:20 p.m. is exactly sundown for Hanukkah. So I was particularly screwed with this drop as I was over at my mother's celebrating the high holiday. Yes. So
So I'll take that as a no.
Drop, which kind of pissed me off because I was really looking forward to
happy
it.
Hanukkah.
Thank you. And I have an ass time minting from mobile most of the time, so I didn't even attempt it. But I was really juiced on it earlier in the day. Satoshi is a legend, and I mean, I think everybody was on the VC for like hours after this drop because First of all, we were employing the Cyber Baby snipe tool with amazing efficiency. Now we know in business absolutely killed that Monaco drop the other day with it, but boy, were people sniping rares after this thing dropped. And then we saw the whales start to move in and make that move really worth it. I think Pranksy dumped $500,000 into rare motherfuckers when all was said and done. There was at least two 20 ETH sales. One was 17, one was 20. I stopped watching after that, but this is an elite project. You don't see sales that large in a project that's going anywhere anytime soon. It This to me falls under the category of crypto collectible. You know, there are certain things like rare Peppy cards, which nobody in an auction house is ever even going to remotely understand, but they're always going to be worth millions of dollars to crypto people. And that's how these Satoshis, you know, feel to me. Anybody who's been in NFTs for 2 months is like, are you fucking kidding me? That's the worst art I've ever seen. Why does that even matter? When it does matter. These are historic for the reason of the memer who put them out. He announced this project, 48 hours ago, 10,000 supply, and there was a gas war. Who can command that nowadays? Maybe Artifact. Ugh. But yeah,
I just had to go back
so
there. Right?
I think these motherfuckers are a great long-term play. Short-term price volatility is not your friend. So who knows where this floor goes in the immediate term. But anytime you see rares going at that price, you know this thing is going to be an important project for many years to come. So love the motherfuckers.
Yeah, so as you mentioned, there was a couple of large purchases. The biggest one being 20 ETH by none other than Pranksy, and he bought a one-of-one Bored MFer, and that's BORED board, as in Bored Apes. And it is a pretty fucking funny picture of a Bored Ape sitting at that computer with the headphones on, and the dad popping into the room saying, "Stay away from NFTs, they're danger, oh my god." And I had a good little chuckle on that one. But yeah, honestly, they look cool, they look fun. You know, it's there's a relevance play there. It's, you know, people are enjoying it, and when, you know, Pranksy is willing to buy the most expensive one of one, it's a stamp of approval from them, right?
Yeah, you know, and that's why understanding the different genres and niches is important here. Because if you looked at these for the art, you totally would have missed the play. And we hear people constantly say this common colloquialism that the art doesn't matter, and that's true depending on the genre you're talking about, right? You have to understand there's fine art, there's PFPs, there's crypto collectibles, and then there are Venn diagrams where certain things are all three, certain things are two, certain things are one. But understanding which niche it is and whether the collectors are going to go for, I mean, these collectors are always sitting there with tens of thousands of ETH ready to deploy into things they like. When there's volume droughts, it's because there's nothing they like, right? And I mean, this is a very loved person in the community, and his collectibles are going to be very valuable in the future.
Yeah, and DRK mentioned in the chat that Pranksy bought two. I'm not seeing the second one. I know that he bought the first one for 20, though. The other one was like 18.88, and that's by a name
Plus,
that I don't recognize.
I mean, he bought grips and grips of lower rares too.
Yeah,
a bunch of stuff. Yeah.
No, these are cool. Congrats to anybody that got in on these and had some fun with it as well. I hope that it was, you know, a good
Scott
trade
went
or a
over
good hold.
how tough that gas war was yesterday. You know, nobody assumed a 10K PFP project would need to be hit with that much prio. But yeah, it was a very popular drop. People wanted those, and we could see why. They were selling for big money after.
Well, you know, for anybody that tuned into the Cyber Babies demo yesterday, you know, one of the things about their project or their bot tool, sorry, for minting is that you know, you kind of have to set your prio, you have to set your GUI, and you have to kind of live with it at that point, because MetaMask doesn't actually pick up the the transaction and show it in there, so you don't actually have a speed up option. But you know, it really does highlight the fact that you need to have a plan going into these drops. You need to gauge the sentiment, and if you know that it's going to be a gas war, sometimes it is actually cheaper to just send it and actually get the NFT rather than not send it. And when I say send it, I mean gas up, not, you know, not commit to that, and you get a failed transaction because this thing mints out in a couple of blocks, and then you don't even have time to speed it up. So
This was one of those situations where had you could have probably bought quickly on the secondary for slightly less than you would have paid in gas right after the drop finished. This happens a lot with high profile drops because people just don't expect the gas that big, and guys who went in for, you know, dozens or hundreds start to recoup cost by selling a little bit under what they minted for and hope to make the rest up on rares. So yeah, a lot of times it's better to not even get into that gas war. I was even talking about it yesterday, especially with these sniping tools now, right? So many people like in business brought up a great point about the three types of opportunities you have, and the people who forget to pull down a listing from the pre-reveal, man, those are the best snipes, and we now have the tools to really do this effectively. So maybe save some liquidity for snipes with your cyber baby versus just trying to mint so many, because you know that rare lottery you have a very small chance anyway. Better chance of sniping afterwards with some saved liquidity for the drop.
All right. So yeah, if anybody wants to come and say their piece about the MFers on the Q&A open mic session of the show, by all means, get ready for that. We are just about to wrap it up. Let's talk about probably the last thing we got today, and that is Wizards and Dragons. I know that this one is one that you were kind of tooting about a little bit, and we're impressed with it. The art does look cool. It's very Orcs-esque. And it is well, I don't know.
It is. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I thought you were laughing as a, like,
no.
how dare you?
Oh, definitely not. Definitely not. I think the orcs are slightly better art. They're slightly more detailed, but I'm into that vibe. I mean, you know, you could hit me with 10 different games and that vibe, I'd probably play all of them.
Right. And so this is, you know, a Wizards against Dragons kind of game, and a la, you know, Wolf game. There are some dynamics regarding it. They do GP, which is the classic RPG term for gold.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, so Dragons steal new mints and earn GP from Wizards. Wizards are part of the Tower Guild, and they earn GP. And, you know, so obviously there's some wolves, sheep, and wool vibes going on there.
Seems to be more, a little more intricate, though, is more orc-like, so to say. Like, there's more to do than just the wolf. You know, the wolf game is essentially a DeFi play. Like, I don't see anybody rocking this art or talking about how much they like the graphical user interface, right? That's a DeFi. You know, people are in it to make money. This, on the other hand, I could see people loving these little characters and buying them for that reason as well. I'm a little disappointed because of all the derivatives. I saw this one coming from a mile away, like, yeah, this is the one, get it. And no matter how many slash guards I put in that damn general of theirs, I couldn't get whitelisted. And I'm feeling that pain this morning.
Yeah, so they did do well. How was the mint process on that?
Yeah, good question. I tried to get a little info on it. It seemed to also be a messy launch, and I think, you know, this recent cycle is going to be defined by messy launches who kind of did well anyway. As everybody seemed to try to reinvent the minting process, these guys, I believe they wanted to start at a Dutch auction of 0.42069, a nice meme price there to get everybody excited. Eventually it would go down to 0.088. Whitelist had the right to, I'm not sure how many mints. There seemed to be some mutiny with the exact process, but that said, it also seems to be doing really well. I'm not sure if they were real, but there seemed to be some 10 ETH Dragon sales yesterday, which sounds crazy to me. But there it is. And I know a few AM members are participating in this game. If any of them want to come up in the AMA and maybe give us a quick rundown, I'd love to hear it, because I just thought from the beginning, if any of these derivatives was going to do well, it was this one.
Yeah, it was interesting. So looking at OpenSea right now, it's at about 2,500 ETH in volume traded, sitting at about a 0.25 floor. So nice little win there. And I think some dragons were kind of flying for some high prices as well, just pulling up the highest last price sale. I see a 12 ETH, a 10 ETH, a bunch of 10 ETHs, 9 ETH. Yeah, so these things were, if you managed to ding a dragon there, a nice little payday. Yeah. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see how that progresses. While we're talking about derivatives and stuff like that, it does appear that maybe this is the one. Whales game kind of caught everybody's attention there for a little bit, but on the backs of the Wizard and Dragons launch, seems to have kind of taken a little bit of a beating. But we'll see how that one bounces back too. But yeah, Wizards and Dragons kind of might be viewed as the launch of the day, even despite CloneX minting out.
Yeah, I mean, I think a very missed point is that the only games that will be successful on a long-term basis are the ones you're not playing just to earn money. All right? Earning money is a very sticky angle, I agree, but unless you want to play slightly more for the fun than the money, I think it's a Ponzi that eventually collapses on itself. And I think that is the main issue with something like Wolf Game, whereas this Wizards and Dragons seem to have a lot more angles of fun, where you could see people with a Magic the Gathering or D&D bent want to play it anyway, right? And certainly early on, it's always going to be speculative, because being early into if one of these becomes a Fortnite, you're going to be there's going to be so many millionaires, that got in for a few $100, that own these gaming assets. So everybody knows that the big one is yet to come, and we're all looking for. But that is why I think the gaming meta is so interesting, and why Wizards and Dragons, to me personally, has even better prospects than Wolf Game, because it seems more fun to play, not just for the cash.
For sure. Okay, so on that note, I quickly touched on Whales Game doing some struggling there. So I know some AlphaMint members were looking at an exit in regards to that. I think I personally might be on that boat too, but do your own research and whatnot. But the floor has fallen a little bit since the Wizards and Dragons has released, but they have announced more game mechanics to come. So yeah, definitely might be a little bit responsive to that. So. On that note, anybody that wants to jump up, anything else that you want to finish off with before we invite some people up?
No, I think that was it.
I know that we have Illidan itching to get up here, and I'm probably gonna have to bleep some stuff out in the post-editing.
CloneX conversation, so I think we know what it's about. Right?
Yeah. But I just wanted to say, for anybody new listening in here that was looking to get a AM pass, we will be making an announcement pretty soon in regards to how that's all going down. So just hold tight. They are coming. We do have plenty of them left, so this isn't like you're gonna get priced out or you're gonna have to fight a gas war to get it or whatever.
Yeah, we don't recommend buying on the secondary yet. We don't want anyone to feel like they're not getting a good deal. We respect and love that people want to trade these things, and please go ahead, list for whatever you want. But if you're a prospective member, we're gonna release more. There's no reason to pay half an ETH in the secondary.
Yeah,
40% royalties, very reasonable.
We thought 40% was very fair.
Yeah, exactly.
We don't have 40%.
Cobain has to bring us back to serious.
Yeah,
come on, guys.
I wasn't going to say too much about CloneX because I think you guys covered most of the bullshit already. Right. I mean, aside from I am pissed off, but nobody gives a fuck about me being pissed off.
I do. I feel like I led you in there.
Thank you. No, it's right. It's my own fault because it's my own fault and my own stupidity. But anyway, I mean, again, Just goes to show, just be a little patient, and sometimes it'll be better. But no, there were two other things I wanted to mention, just in case people weren't aware. So Orcs are down a little bit. So people that were looking to get into Orcs maybe might be a good time now.
120.
So
120.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah, it was it's a bit over 1 at the moment. And that's because a lot of people that put them into back-to-back raids had their Orcs come out yesterday or overnight. So so a bit more supply becoming unlocked for people that might want to try and get in a bit cheaper. And the other one was a project that you mentioned, FMC, a few weeks ago, I believe. The Ape Kids Club is minting its public sale today.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, we did talk about that.
Yeah, so that was one of the baby projects that actually didn't look like a copy paste shrunk image piece of garbage.
Remember that meta? Seems like years ago.
Those are the 3D ones, right?
Like 3D-ish.
Yeah, those are the 3D. Nice. Yeah, the 3D cute looking ones, which like seem like they have some kind of semi endorsement from actual Bored Apes. So yeah, that's that. Nice. Public sale is minting at some point today. I don't think they've announced it yet, but it is today, so that's what I'm looking at.
Yeah, and that's going to be 0.05, right? And 3,000 are going to the pre-sale, 7,000 going to the public sale, which is a nice ratio, honestly. Yeah. I like I like not locking too much of them up in the pre-sale.
Yeah. So so that's going on later today. I don't know when, but I'm going to try and test out the bot again. Because I was a bit retarded yesterday and I didn't hit the watch function, so it didn't fire for me on motherfuckers, unfortunately.
Yes.
Yeah, no, I appreciate you bringing that up.
I was just saying there were good snipes yesterday.
Yeah, no, there were some real good ones. I know In Business had a few really good snipe and flips. So yeah. I mean that's pretty much it from me. I don't really have too much else to say other than
without getting you too riled up while we wait to wait for people to put their hands up to talk about anything else that they want. Like, what do you're in? I can't remember how many of these you meant to do. 3.
3. So I went in for 90.
And you know what? The shitty thing about this for you, and not to rub salt in the wound, is I guess your wallet isn't even eligible for the 1,000 raffles, as I saw you kind of going on about it in the chat. Yeah,
so that's and I tried asking about this in their Discord as well, and just my post gets deleted every fucking time, and I'm like, guys, this is a legitimate concern. It's not like FUD. You're talking about people that want to support you. And, your website completely shut the bed, so nobody could get in. And there were still people that wanted to buy it and get in because you could see the momentum that was there at the start. Yeah. And I was, unfortunately, one of these idiots. So I couldn't get into the website. So I sent ETH to a mate of mine that actually managed to get in. So he minted for me, sent me the NFTs back. And because of that, I don't think I'm not eligible because I'm not technically a minter. I've just got NFTs that were transferred to another wallet, and asking about it, deleted. So
they took a snapshot. They took a snapshot of the wallets at 7:30 p.m. Pacific time, after they shut down the original sale. That was when they took the snapshot, and by that point, your friend had already transferred them to your wallet.
Yeah. By then they would be in there, but they said that they're going to look to make sure that it's it's people that minted them from the contract or people that minted from the thing, and they've said it's 1 ticket per wallet. And I'm trying to get answers, and I've got 0 answers. Just questions deleted. So it's a bit annoying.
No, I had a great talk with Dylan yesterday, who also felt a little betrayed because their communication with the mods was really terrible as well. And people were going after the mods, looking for both answers, but also abusing them. And Dylan, we just had a good conversation about it, and he completely agrees with pretty much everything. And I think
one of the surprising things that he mentioned while I was on at least was that it's not even the mods that are deleting it; it's the team.
Yeah, it was the red names in there, the team that were doing a lot of the celebrating, doing the fuck you flutters.
The mods hated it.
Yeah.
They felt like, they did not like how the team was reacting. And, I tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to at least talk to Dylan. And while they're not completely responsive to their mod team, he should at least tell them your case specifically, because I don't think anybody should feel fucked by this company.
I wish
for spending.
Maybe they should have just actually sold those 1,000 and then taken that 2,000 ETH that they gained from the sale and just refunded the 2,000 mints, the 1 ETH.
Or they should just fucking take take it anyway. Do the raffle. Do both. It's deserved.
I mean, that is the logical thing to do, and that would also be, the right thing to do by your community. But I think everything that we've seen so far from them just shows that they are, a bunch of greedy cunts. I mean, we've talked about many times, as we've talked about many times before on the show.
For some perspective,
have set the price and done all this, and they've already pre-ordered the Lambo. It's very hard to say no to a bunch of options you've already clicked yes on.
Gonna have to take away the carbon fiber floor mats, right? But for some perspective, you were willing to spend 9 ETH on this project in a Dutch auction format. You got burned. You are a animated member of our community, but your concerns were thought out and valid, and you weren't even asking for all of your money back. You were like, just give me it at the price that everybody else was eligible to pay for them, and I'll be fine.
Yep.
So if that's all it takes to make somebody that was willing to spend $50,000 happy, like, I guess just do it.
I just don't understand why they wouldn't. I really don't.
It just boggles, the mind to go, how can you try and build, such a big reputable brand and make yourself, look like you guys are the kings of NFTs and have a long-standing community that supports you. Like, all this does is it turns away a lot of people that are willing to drop big bucks, right?
Yeah, well, you know what, they've succeeded, and I hope that if they ever do something like this again, it's a little more thought out thoroughly, and I think it's going to be a lesson for anybody else that's trying to and I think the lesson is that you can do whatever the fuck you want and fuck it up as much as you want, and you're still going to make $80 million instead of the $100 million that you're slated to make, right? And that's maybe the unfortunate reality, right? And you know what, I mean, in the wake of, like, you and Free Market, who had stakes in this game, and Dylan, who was going to get to mint some, and as a mod in the community, I say this with all due respect, but there was a part of me that was hoping that the market was going to reject their decision and not mint out at 2 ETH. And it wasn't being salty. It's not that I don't want anybody to succeed or this project to fail. But when the market,
it just would be nice to see people, as you say, vote with your feet, vote with your wallet in this case, and just say, no, you fucked up.
Vote with your wallet and do that, right? And we've unfortunately seen it time and time again where these projects do all the wrong things, and then they're rewarded at the end of the day for it. And believe me, like, apart from the people that minted it, like, that team would have been fine even if it didn't mint out there.
Oh yeah.
But
absolutely.
But yeah,
we'll see. I mean, one thing that does give me a slight bit of hope, because I think I mentioned this on the show a couple of times, once or twice already, or maybe just in voice chats, which is the supply being 20K, and that we haven't actually seen any project actually come out the gate with 20K available, right? Like, even mutants were at 14K minted at the time, 10K DA, and then 4K with Serum. So with this whole bridging process, it's going to be interesting to see how many people bridge immediately and how many people bridge, a day later, or 6 hours later, or whenever it might be. But where I feel like we're going to see the same sort of thing again, where the supply sort of comes in maybe a lot quickly and then slows down, and then the price sort of pumps again, and then the rest of it gets bridged over, and then the price dumps.
Mm-hmm. That's a good point to look out for.
Be interesting to see how that all plays out. I mean, I really hope that the bridging process is going to be smooth, and they still haven't announced exactly when that bridging process is going to be. But if they're going to put a bit of time between the mint and the bridge, it's a lot of time that you can use to do a bit of marketing, get some people involved to talk about it publicly. Instead of instead of we're stuck in our ways, we're going to wait till it's all done, and then if you sold because the price went down, it's on you kind of attitude.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, that was just
pump my bags. Pump my bags.
All right, my man. We're going to invite Josh up here, but
no worries.
I think we've probably done the bulk of the CloneX talk. Obviously, there's going to be some stuff to
until tomorrow when new news breaks.
Oh yeah, the reveal is still coming up too.
Whatever
That's
they've
going to be a
done
lot, but
in the last 12 hours.
Yeah, alrighty, boys.
All right.
Thanks, man. GM Josh.
Oh, GM, how's everybody doing? Waking up.
How's my favorite narcotics peddler doing today?
Oh, peddling narcotics and stuff, the usual.
No, just kidding. Yeah.
No narcotics peddling happening here, everybody.
No, only bored ape heads. Last night, from what I can see, really dope. I retweeted it.
Oh, what did I miss? Oh, what did I miss?
Oh no, I just made a little derivative piece with Zeneca's bored ape that I posted. Free Market Capital's got a kick out of it. I'm still working on your trash can R2D2, man.
Love it.
No pressure, but it better be fucking perfect.
I believe the inspiration for that ape came from this show. I remember we were discussing it. What would be some cool directions, and I thought it looked absolutely fabulous. You really nailed the execution.
So did Zeneca pick up on it?
No, I don't think so. I mean, well, it's hard to say on these things, but I found that with the derivative sort of fan arty pieces, it's really just a roll of the dice. You do 10 of them, one of them gets picked up by a big influencer, and usually that's enough to make a hit to the make an impact on the bottom line. But yeah, we'll see. More to come.
I'm just gonna pull this up on screen right now. Yeah, I found it. It looks cool, guys. Like if you're feeling the vibes of Josh's work, maybe go give him a follow on Twitter. It's at Shroomheads with 2 Z's on the end of it, and yeah, maybe go share his Zeneca piece and get it some exposure.
Oh, thanks, guys. Yeah. Feel free to come along. And also, if folks have like cool, weird PFP things they want to get turned into a little shroomified piece, hit me up. I've been having fun doing these, and it's a great way to reach an audience.
Once you get so popular, you have 100 DMs asking for these PFP floating heads a day. We got to come up with a GON that people can just enter the PFP they own, and it spits out a floating head in.
Oh, hell yeah. I love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah. Little incubator, little NFT incubator.
NFT incubator. Sweet. Well, so a couple of things. And actually, on the Shroomheads thing, one request to the community, if anybody knows people who are into the psychedelic space and NFTs, send them my way, because I'll do something to, maybe do a custom PFP, maybe do something else. So feel free to ping me anytime. But my 2 actual questions for you guys are about Orcs and the Satoshi drop. So one is strategies for picking out an Orc. Like, is there any strategy to picking one out while the floor is low? I heard Illidan mention that, and it seemed interesting. And the other question is just about Satoshi, and like, how do you know when these potentially cash grabby sort of influencer projects are worth getting involved in or not, and how do you guys think about that problem?
Yeah, so the Satoshi one, it's very hard to quantify or put into words exactly how you know. I think it's literally just experience, or finding someone with experience in the space to understand, like, no, the 888 thing probably doesn't have legs, but yes, the Satoshi thing does, right? That's just experience about knowing which influencers are launching with the right vibe. Like I don't think Satoshi, not that he doesn't care about the money, but it's not why he conceived the project, and I think it comes through. So that's me. It's really just about I knew because of who likes Satoshi. I mean, that's the easiest way I could put it. Like I knew the whales and collectors that spend this type of money love Satoshi. So I knew his project was going to do well in that vein. Just experience, really. It's if you've been in the space for 2 months, it's hard to tell the charlatans from the gods, right?
Yeah, for sure. That's kind of what I expected.
Yeah,
but more importantly, Ethors.
Yes, this is a more fun conversation. So your main consideration, I think, is your Zug, right? Zug production. I think Dark Illidan also wants to come up and talk about picking Orcs. I am going to invite him up. He will be good for this conversation. But yeah, you want to look at Zug production, right? Because any Orc that has less than a plus 12 is going to need to be leveled up and pillaged. Now, if he's the right level, you don't have to waste your time leveling him up. So that's a consideration. He needs to be level 10 or higher. Otherwise, you have to spend 8 hours per level getting him up to the proper level to pillage, where he can get some items, right? So there's a loot pool.
Which will also cost you 120 Zug. Yeah, sorry to cut you off there, MC. So,
Go ahead.
Yeah, so it's if you look at the listings on Orcs, every now and then there are some really good Orcs that people just paper hand because I don't know why, but they put them at stupid prices. Like, a couple of times you might see a level 30 or a level 35 Orc that's listed just at floor, and it doesn't really make any sense. And that the Zug production is pretty good as well, but. Yeah, like FMC was saying, the Zug production is what you want to look at, and ideally you would get one that is plus 12 or around about that range or more, because you can get floor Orcs that are plus 0 or plus 2 or plus 3 or plus 4, where you would then have to pay the upgrade, or you get the ones to avoid, I would say, are ones that are like plus 7 to plus 9, because you're not, it's at that point, it's kind of in a weird spot where it's not really worth it to do the leveling and paying the Zug to upgrade it to plus 12, because that delta you're getting is not very big. So definitely avoid those ones, but the other ones that are, at or more, go for them.
Right. So Zug right now, last time I checked, was about $1.50. So you need 120 Zug to raid the loot pool, which will give you an automatic plus 12, and I think you actually have a small chance to get a little higher than that.
Yeah, 2% to get a plus 13.
So organizing the first thing you do is you scroll to the bottom of the properties and you set the Zug level to a minimum of 12, and you compare that to the floor price. I mean, if there is a floor that is dramatically less than 120 Zug, maybe there's some value in buying him, but it would have to be a lot less, right? Because you have to factor in gas and time and labor and all that shit. So really, and like Dark said, every once in a while someone will throw like a plus 17 up at the same price as a plus 12 or something like that, and those are the best deals to snap up quick. But since Zug is the reason to have these Genesis Orcs, you want to look at the production. Now, here's where it gets interesting, right? If you look at the very high level Orcs, you're paying for more than just the Zug production, because 2 floors is going to give you 24 Zug, theoretically. But if you slide the slider to Orcs that are a minimum of 24 Zug, you're going to be paying 6 ETH for a minimum of those Orcs. So when you're just looking at Zug production, it's better to buy 2 floors than 1 rare. Now, if you're looking at the game from a long-term perspective, there is going to be utility for each item. But I'm not sure we know enough for you to make a value judgment on whether it's better to pay that extra ETH for like the ice sword, because the ice sword is going to work really well in a certain raid for a certain aspect. It's very hard to price, and it's speculative. So I would definitely focus on floors as you're getting in, because your ETH to Zug ratio is the best at the floor.
Yeah, it also depends on like if you are going to play the game, right? It also depends on your strategy and how much you're willing to spend, of course, and how many orcs how big of a horde you're trying to build. Because if you're looking to get just one or two, then sure, your better strategy is just to pick up a couple of floors, set them to Zug, and do that. But if you're looking to buy, I don't know, 5 or 10 orcs, then you have a lot more options in terms of what kind of strategy you want to employ.
Yeah.
Because you can then go ahead and just buy more high level orcs that you will set to raid, or you can buy one that's super high level and set him to raid and use the rest of them as Zug batteries to perpetually keep getting bone shards. And getting bone shards, I think, is going to be a fairly long-term thing, because you got 3,000 of the shamans coming out, you got 9,000 of the remaining allies, so 3 different types, and that's gonna take quite a while to mint out. Like even the shaman's gonna take 2 months or something to mint. I mean, even to date, you can't mint the shamans because they put a bit of a they let you start mining the bone shards, but they won't let you start minting till there's sort of enough of a supply built up. Otherwise, you get this weird like supply shock where the first shaman sells for 20.
Or more than a Genesis orc, right?
Yeah. And then regarding loot and stuff, one of the things that they did mention early on is that having matching sets of loot is going to make a difference, and it will get you a bonus. That hasn't been implemented yet in the current raids, but I think that will make a difference on the L2 raids.
These guys are so good, man. I could talk about orcs all day. This game is just they're so smart. They think about everything,
Yeah, it literally consumed my whole life for about the month and a half that it was.
Wow. I mean, yeah.
I literally minted, like literally after minting orcs, I didn't mint anything for like 6 weeks.
Right. I mean, the whole AlphaMint team was on voice chat for like 7 days, while Kiwi got no sleep doing all this leveling for it. Amazing. What a time to be alive.
What a time to be alive. I feel so out on these conversations. I'm just smiling and nodding to the camera right now for 10 to 15 minutes. But no,
we're
honestly,
gonna get you into orcs. We got to get you a rare. We're gonna get you 30E, and you're gonna wipe that floor out one of these days. We got to get you in the orc board.
All right, guys. I think on that note is probably a good chance to wrap up the show. Not to cut off the orc conversation, but if you want to continue it, by all means, head down to the voice chat and we could talk for hours about this. But yeah, like I said, I just want to thank everyone for showing up today. We had about 55 listeners, which is amazing. Yesterday we had our all-time high of 65, which we are incredibly appreciative of. But yeah, so we've got some good things on the horizon. The next wave of passes is coming out soon, and we have little lemon friends coming to hang out with us tomorrow afternoon, as you teased yesterday. You want to finish us off with that?
We got a bunch of whitelist spots to give away to people in the audience. So tell your friends, if they've never listened to the show, we're going to be giving some live away to people who are listening. And I cannot wait to get into that conversation. This project is the one I'm looking forward to most. That's going to be tomorrow at 4 p.m. Eastern. We're going to do it live on the stage in the Discord. It's also going to be recorded for YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Music.
So just before I jump off, apparently Reebok have done an NFT which minted a few minutes ago.
Damn.
Jump into the voice and check it out.
Yeah, you know my thing with mainstream NFTs. All right, everybody, thank you for listening this morning. Cloud Cobain, take us away.
We out. Good luck at the tables. Peace.